Hi there. In this video we're going to look to see how to factorize quadratics. And we'll start by looking at this sort. 1 lot of x squared plus bx plus c. The coefficient of x squared is a 1 in this case. And b and c are any two numbers. So let's start by looking at this quadratic. How do you factorize this? Well, you've got to think of two numbers that add to give you 7 and multiply to give 10. These are not too difficult. 2 and 5. They add to give 7 and multiply to give 10. And these are the two numbers you use to factorize the quadratic. There we are. Two brackets, both beginning with x. And the two numbers you got, 2 and 5, go into the brackets in either order. X plus 5, x plus 2, or x plus 2, x plus 5. Doesn't matter. The order doesn't matter when you multiply. Right, so that's it. That's the answer. X squared plus 7x plus 10 equals x plus 2 times x plus 5. That's factorized. Let's try this one. This time I need to find two numbers that add to give 5, this one, and multiply to give minus 36. Don't forget the minus number, the minus sign, very important. So two numbers that add to give 5 and multiply to give minus 36. What are those numbers? Use your brain and hopefully you'll come up with the right answer. 9 and minus 4. And those are the two numbers you stick into the brackets. The brackets both begin with x, and the two numbers appear here and here, 9 and minus 4. Again, the order wouldn't matter, doesn't matter. Let's try this one. Two numbers to add to give minus 3 and multiply to give minus 18. What are those two numbers? The whole numbers add to give minus 3 and multiply to give minus 18. They are 3 and minus 6. And those are the two numbers you stick into the brackets. X plus 3, x minus 6. There you go. When you multiply this out, always check that you do get the original quadratic. How about this one? You need to find two numbers that add to give minus 10 and multiply to give plus 25. And in this case, the two numbers are the same, minus 5 and minus 5. When you add them, you do get minus 10. You multiply them, you get plus 25. And put those into the brackets, and the brackets are exactly the same. Good. Now let's have a look at this sort where a is not 1. The coefficient of x squared is not 1. What do we do then? Right, if you look at this horrendous looking thing, looks complicated but actually isn't. To factorize this, x squared plus bx plus c, you need to find two integers. Integers are whole numbers, called p and q, whose sum, when you add them, you get b, and when you multiply them together, you get a times c. Once you've done that, you can put them into this formula. Horrendous looking thing, maybe, but much easier with examples, much easier. So let's try this one. I want to factorize this. I have to think of two numbers called p and q such that when you multiply them, you will get 2 times 14, 28. So two numbers. When you multiply them, you'll get 28, 2 times 14. And when you add them, you'll get 11. So what are those two numbers? Multiply them, you get 28. Add them, you get 11. Hopefully you'll get the right answers. P is 4, one of them's 4, the other one's 7. Doesn't matter which way around. So how do we use these two numbers to factorize this? Here we go. This 2 here appears 3 places. There, there, and there. It appears on the top in the first bracket 2x, second bracket 2x, divided by 2. So those the 2's come from this coefficient of x squared. And then the 4 and the 7 appear in the brackets at the top. Plus 4 plus 7. That's not quite the answer now. What we look for, and what we do next, is look at the two brackets and see if you can factorize either of them or both of them. And in this case, we can factorize 2x plus 4 by taking out a factor of 2, like this. Can't do anything with the other one. And this is quite nice down here because this 2 will cancel with this 2, because we have this times this times this divided by this, and these two will cancel to leave us with the answer. There are those two brackets, x plus 2, 2x plus 7 are the factors of this quadratic. Let's try another one. I need to find two numbers, p and q, such that when I multiply them I'll get minus 24. The minus 24 comes from 4 times minus 6. And the two numbers must add to give minus 5. So what are those two numbers? You multiply them, you get minus 24. You add them, you get minus 5. They are 3 and minus 8. Might take a bit of thinking, but once you've got them, then you can factorize. So there's our quadratic I want to factorize. The two brackets at the top both begin with 4x, and the 4 comes from this 4 here, the coefficient of x squared. And the number on the bottom of the fraction is the same 4. Having got that, look to see, can you factorize the first bracket or the second bracket? And you can factorize the second one. Take out a factor of 4, like this. 4 into x minus 2. The other bits, just leave them as they are. Just factorize the 4x minus 8. And again, this is quite nice. This 4 cancels with this 4 to leave me with the answer. Let's factorize. Another one. Try this one. Think of two numbers that multiply to give minus 72. 6 times minus 12. They multiply to give minus 72 and add to give the number in front of the x, which is a 1. So two numbers that multiply to give minus 72 and add to give 1. Here are the two numbers, 9 and minus 8. Put them into the brackets. The brackets at the top both begin with 6x. That 6 comes from here, the coefficient of x squared. 6x, 6x, divide by 6. And the two numbers 9 and minus 8, put them into the brackets at the top. Now in this case I can factorize the first bracket and the second bracket. I can take out a factor of 3 from the first bracket and a 2 from the second bracket. Now 3 times 2 is 6. That cancels nicely with the 6 on the bottom, leaving me with the answer. And there we go. Nice neat method of factorizing quadratics. The only thinking you've got to do is finding these two numbers p and q. Once that's done, the rest is a little bit easier. Okay.